So, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Turn 5 podcast, the final race review of the season. And what a race it was! With everything on the line.
Shock.
So, Abu Dhabi, obviously, we went in with the Constructors' Championship still to be decided. And it was a little bit closer than I would have liked there at the end. I say that like I didn't miss it live and have to watch it afterwards. And when I woke up during the live broadcast during Lando Norris's post-race interview. So I was desperately trying to figure out, was he happy just because he'd won the race, or was he happy because they'd won the constructors? Because
that's the constructors, but you won, so who gives a fuck?
Because I was seeing Lando Norris and two Ferraris on the podium, and I'm thinking, have we done enough? Have they scored too many points? What's going on?
Max Verstappen happened.
Yeah, I found that out much later. He doesn't learn, does he? But yeah, so
he won't ever. That's just what he does.
We will we'll start with some of the news that came out ahead of the Grand Prix weekend before we dive right in. But we will get into the whole weekend shortly. The first piece of news I've got on my list is surrounding the Dutch Grand Prix. It's only signed a 1-year extension on its contract, taking it to 2026 as its final season. Ben, thoughts?
I don't know. I want it to stay because of the Verstappen factor. I think it's good to have tracks for home races for drivers, because it's always brings an atmosphere and all of that. So that's good. But also, if you were to take all the the fans out of it and just the track, you're like, it's just a bit mid. So
yeah, especially when the director of the Dutch Grand Prix then drops a clanger in the interview and spoils an announcement for when does it normally come out? October next year. So in his interview, he said, I'll read it out word for word here. This is Robert van Overdijk, the director of the Dutch Grand Prix, said, "While today's announcement signals the end of a monumental era, we are confident there is plenty more for fans to look forward to at the Dutch Grand Prix in 2025 and 2026, including the sprint in 2026. Has he just dropped a spoiler alert that there's going to be a Dutch Grand Prix sprint in 2026? Because we only just found out where the 25 sprints are going to be.
Maybe it's one of the little sweet talks that F1 has said.
Or
to bugger off.
Or is he trying to force their hand and be like,
maybe.
Look, I've said that there's going to be a sprint here now. There better be a sprint here now.
Yeah, but I think F1's got a good recollection of letting things just fucking dry as not giving a shit, so...
Oh, we said that before? Oh, that's a shame. We're not going to.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, there could be a sprint in 26, which, not going to lie, I'm not looking forward to that.
This is where every race in 2026 is sprint, so...
24 races, 24 sprints. Yeah, no thanks. Next up, a little bit of support series news. The F1 Academy, the grid is expanding from 15 to 18 cars as High-Tech GP have joined the roster for 2025. So that's good. Another 3 seats. There is also more F1 circuit news. A contract extension has been agreed between F1 and Shanghai. So Shanghai will remain on the calendar until 2030 now.
Yep. Donald's favourite Grand Prix.
China. We then had a whole host of rookies take part in the FP1 session, as seems to be tradition in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Leave it to the last possible minute and then throw them all in the bloody car. But it meant that for the first time in F1 history, we had two brothers racing for the same team in a Formula One session, where Arthur Leclerc joined Charles Leclerc. It is wild, considering you think how long in Formula One we had both Michael and Ralph.
Yeah, but it's a shame because Ralph just wasn't as good as Michael, so...
Not many people are. Let's be honest.
It's true. It's true.
It then came out that Leclerc was going to get a 10-place grid penalty because he'd gone over his, I think it was his energy storage allocation for the season. So, yeah, that was a bitter blow for them ahead of what they were hoping to be a bit of a title fight. And to be fair, they made it one, so...
Yeah, they're still... The start of the race was fucking mad.
And then I've just got a note on my notes here. It says, Woody versus Sid continued.
That took me a sec. Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
Let's carry on.
But this war of words is...
Lando's comments on that when he's getting asked, oh, what's your thoughts on it? I was like, yeah, I hope they keep fighting. It's entertainment. Keep stirring it. Yep.
I mean, it's going to get to the point where it's just going to be a bit...
Yeah, it's shit that it's the last race of the season now.
Yeah.
You want it to carry on, but it's just going to be...
Post-race test.
Yeah.
Throwing hands in the garage. Right. Have I got any other news? Not news that was really before the race weekend. So, both Williams drivers received grid penalties this time out for, again, allocation of parts. I know that at least one of them was for a gearbox.
Both gearboxes.
Both the gearboxes. Not surprising considering the amount of monumental shunts that they've had in the last 5 Grand Prix. So, unfortunate.
I was about to say at least they got through this weekend cleanly, but Oscar Piastri happened. So,
yeah, that was a rough one. That, to be fair, I watched it back and I couldn't really tell like if Oscar just because the distance closed so quick. Was it that the Williams hit the brakes in front of him, or was it just that the Williams' DRS closed? And that sudden increase in drag meant that drop in speed, and that was what caused it.
Yeah, I think it's just Oscar missed
his braking point by a couple of meters. And then Nico Hulkenberg also received a 3-place grid drop after his stellar qualifying performance, in which he qualified P4 for overtaking 2 cars on the pit exit road, which is against the race director's notes.
The Mercedes fans love that. Bringing out receipts of Max Verstappen doing it. That's funny. Yeah,
but oh well. Max Verstappen actually had a hell of a moment in qualifying.
Yes.
How he didn't spear into the pit wall, I will never know, because Jesus Christ, that car was so far round. Like, coming out of the final corner, that car was damn near sideways.
Wasn't it mad that on his second run he still really didn't even gain any time?
He went slower on his second run than Tokyo drifting his way to the line. It was mad because he was so much faster than everyone else on the first run.
Yeah, but they had
yeah. But it was like, oh my god, half a second, and he's like kept his foot in all this like power drift.
Yeah.
But yeah. Right, well, we should obviously cover off the news of McLaren have won the Constructors' Championship. by 14 points, which is a very close season. This is the closest we've had in a very long time in terms of constructors.
You don't really keep track of constructors, do you?
No, I
Just
will
been
now.
Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull.
I will now double check my standings. Okay, yeah. Well, last year it was bloody more than double the points difference because Red Bull had 860 and Mercedes had 409. 230 points. Okay, so 2021 was close.
Who would have thought?
200 points in 2020, 200 points in 2019, 80 points in 2018, 140 points in 2017, 300 points in 2016, 300 points in 2015, 300 points in 2014, 200 points in 2013, 60 points in 2012.
I think we're going back to 2006 for the next closest one.
Really? Fucking hell.
Yeah.
2010's pretty close. That was 44 points.
Still over a race, isn't it?
Yeah. What is it? 25 plus 18? Yeah,
18.
No, yeah. 2009. Oh, that's the old point system, isn't it?
Yep.
So 2009, it was 172 points for Brawn, 153.5 for Red Bull. So that's what, 2019, 18 and a half points there. So that's pretty close in 2009. But then, yeah, 5 points in 2006. But again, old point system. So, of the modern era, of the modern points era, I think 2010, I think, is the closest one. 44 points. Now, the 14 points here is important because going into this weekend, both teams had 5 race wins under their belt, which meant that in the closing stages, when it was running McLaren, Ferrari, if that order changed, and assuming Oscar remained in 10th to secure his 1 point, if that order became Ferrari, McLaren, Ferrari, it would have tied on points at 662.
Math.
I think that's right. No, 659. Would have been a tie on 659 points between Ferrari and McLaren. I think I'm right in saying that the tie-break then goes to number of race wins over the season.
Must do.
Which means basically it was a winner takes all because both Ferrari and McLaren had 5 previous race wins in the season. So Ferrari run in Australia with Sainz, Monaco, Italy and the US with Leclerc, and again with Sainz in Mexico, whereas McLaren decided to flip-flop between their drivers. So Miami was Norris, Hungary was Piastri, the Netherlands was Norris, Azerbaijan was Piastri, and Singapore was Norris. So both went into this with 5 points, meaning that McLaren could not afford a tie on points if it meant Ferrari would win the race. So Norris had to win that. But yeah, that was a lot closer than I would have liked. Obviously, we had the turn 1 incident with Max Verstappen deciding to just yeet Piastri round.
Yeah.
So he got a 10-second penalty for that. We've already
Oscar's team radio.
I didn't hear that actually.
You just went on the radio, so yeah, move of a world champion. That one.
Beautiful.
They also then came on the radio and said that Max was being given a 10-second time penalty, and Oscar, completely deadpan, just went, "Good." He's brilliant.
Oh my god. We've already touched on this, but Oscar then had his time penalty. Was his a 10-second as well? Yeah, okay. Your mic fully cut out then.
But yeah. It seems like any fucking collision now is just automatic 10-second penalty. So.
Yeah, we've got Valtteri Bottas causing a 10. Yeah, okay. Valtteri Bottas did absolutely punt Sergio Perez.
There was a comparison to the 2021 breaking point bit with, is it Casper Ackerman, the old guy, and Devin Butler, just steamrolling it into the corner.
Yeah, so Bottas got a 10-second penalty. Then Oscar got his 10-second penalty. Then Joe got a 5-second time penalty for a false start infringement. Then Bottas said, one penalty isn't enough. Let me do it again. And absolutely annihilated Magnussen?
Yes.
Yes.
It was Kevin.
It was Magnussen.
Kev.
So this is hilarious, right? Because this took Bottas out of the race. Bottas has received 3 penalty points, which takes him to a total of 5 for the 12-month period. In the next race he participates, even though he does not currently have a drive, in the next race he decides to participate in, he will have a 5-place grid drop.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think the best caliber drivers get a penalty
on their last.
They finish racing, yeah.
Lance Stroll received a 5-second time penalty for track limits violations. And Liam Lawson received a 10-second stop and go penalty for having his car released in an unsafe condition.
Yeah, they didn't have the front left on.
Yeah.
At all.
Oh, really?
Like, genuinely.
Did he make it back round?
Yeah. Somehow the wheel stayed on the whole way round. But they lifted the car up, took the wheel off, put the other wheel back on, didn't tighten it at all. And the green light came on and he just drove off. But he sort of like went out for a second and he was like, that front wheel's not off, but like, what do I do?
I saw he started and stopped and then just went.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was like just fully not attached at all. I thought it just wasn't tight. Like, I thought they'd had a go at it, but it was, yeah. Wow. Damn. Kevin Magnussen, for the race, allegedly undertook a practice start at pit exit. Yeah. I've done it again.
The pit exit's back.
It is.
Shame it wasn't raining there.
The decision was no further action.
Also, after once Kevin got fucking Bottas bowled, the fact that he just kept putting softs on and going for the fastest lap, beautiful.
Yeah. So Kevin didn't get penalised for his alleged practice start. The stewards reviewed video and in-car video evidence. Kevin pulled away from the pit exit light to start reconnaissance laps after the pit exit light went green. While the driver did rev the engine for a fraction of a second before pulling away, the stewards do not consider this to be a practice start.
Yeah, he's just waiting for the green light.
He's just getting his revs up so he doesn't bloody stall the car.
Yeah.
It's not like he's sat there and go, like, you know, like they do, and get the revs up for a good few seconds. If they say it's just a fraction of a second, that's fine.
But if that was a practice start from Kevin, then that was probably the worst start of his career.
This was just while they were doing recce laps.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Love that.
I think it was Lawson who came on the radio and be like, Kevin, practice start.
Asymmetric front wing deflection test was carried out on cars numbers 16, 4 and 10. A front wing flap deflection test was carried out on cars 16, 4 and 10. Really going after Charles and Lando. Mate, they really went after Lando. The uppermost rear wing element adjustable positions were checked on cars number 1, 55, 4, 10 and 27. Same...
It was 10 Gasly.
Yeah. Same group of cars for the minimum distance between the adjacent rear wing sections at any longitudinal vertical plane. The front wing flap adjustable range of car number 4 was digitally checked. The front wing gurneys of cars numbers 16, 55, 81, 4, 10, 77 and 24 were checked. Jesus Christ. You get to like... The only thing they didn't check in Lando's car was the fucking fuel and the engine oil. He's had everything else done. Oh my god. That was before the race. The following... Okay, so they checked Lewis, Alonso, Gasly and Hulk after the race. Interesting. They do a lot after the race, god damn. But yeah, that was Formula One. We won. McLaren have won their first constructors title since 98.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I say from 2007, but that's the conspiracy theory.
Yeah, you can't win when you're disqualified, Ben.
I think that was a scam.
Fuck's sake. Right. Let's go over the results, shall we? Before we move on to feeder series. That's the word I'm looking for. Support races. That's the ones. Right. We're going to start this week. And we're going to go back up the order in a different order. And we're going to play this.
Hey, Sergio. Welcome to Red Bull.
We're starting with the results of potentially the last ever Perez position predictions.
Yeah.
Nobody won. Nobody,
I don't think anyone won ever.
We occasionally say that you win if you get a position correct.
Yeah, but we didn't perfect it, did we?
Nobody got the perfect
None of us
positions.
Checo Perez enough.
We're not in his head. So.
I don't think you can be.
Yeah, he qualified 10th and he DNF'd in the race, so nobody got that at all. Nobody got anywhere close to that. We all thought he'd finish for a start. So, shows what we know. Lap down showdown. Ben, you won this week. You got the driver correct. It was indeed Franco Colapinto. He was lapped for the first time on lap 15, and then he DNF'd.
Then he DNF'd.
So nobody else got that right. Nia was the closest on the lap count by virtue of the fact that she just put the lowest in the 30s. So she said 32, you said 34, I said 36. So shows what we know. Bold predictions. I said a McLaren 1-2 to win the World Constructors' Championship. Had it not been for the move of a world champion, potentially that could have been the case. But it wasn't.
Happen, though, so.
Yeah. Nia said no more Merc points. No, they finished 4th and 5th. And you said Perez in the top 5.
Yeah.
How'd that go for you? Now, the big one.
To be fair, when you say Verstappen didn't even get in the top 5,
That's
so
true. Yeah.
the fuck does Perez have a chance?
The big one. The Podium Position Prediction Championship. Going into the weekend, I'll remind you that there were 3 points that separated the top three in this championship. Ben led the way on 89 points. Sonia was in second on 87, and I was in third on 86 points. In fifth place this year, on 64 points, is Nia. In fourth place, on 68 points, is Chris. In third place, on 90 points, is Sonia.
Fuck. No.
In second place, on 91 points, is Ben, which means on 93 points, I have scooped the championship at the last. I got 7 points this week for correctly predicting the pole position, the race winner, and the third placed driver. Ben, you received 2 points for putting both of those drivers on the podium, but in the wrong positions. Yeah. Which is this. Nia got a point for pole and a point for a driver on the podium in the wrong place. And Sonia got a point for pole and 2 points for drivers in the podium in the wrong place. Victory is mine. Mate, I'm so gassed. I only worked it out just before we started recording. I hadn't actually realised it before then. When was the last time I was on the top of the predictions?
I don't know, but I've been top for most of the year.
There was a little bit recently where Sonia overtook you again, but you've been top since...
I feel like Arsenal.
Yeah, you've been top since Silverstone. I haven't been top since Imola. Oof. How's about that? Right, support series. Formula 2 and the F1 Academy joined us at the United Arab Emirates this time around. The qualifying for the all-important 0.5 points in it F2 Championship was as follows. Victor Martins secured pole position, Gabriel Bortoleto in second, so the championship leader taking the advantage there. Paul Aron in third, and Isaac Hadjar finished fourth in quali. So, not far, just starting directly behind his championship rival. The sprint race results, however, opened up the gap in the Drivers' Championship there. Pepe Marti won the sprint race. Gabriel Bortoleto finished second, Dino Beganovic third, Ollie Behrman in fourth, and Isaac Hadjar finished fifth. So I think it opened up to about 5 points. I think that was the gap at the start of the feature race. And then it all fell apart for Isaac Hadjar. They lined up on the grid. Gabriel Bortoleto in second, Isaac Hadjar in fourth, and Hadjar stalled. So was immediately pretty much out of the race at that point. What I'm surprised about, right? So they pushed him off the track. Marshals, right? They push him through the pit wall. Because F2 cars don't have onboard restarters like F1 cars do. Does that not mean he is out of the race due to interference of a marshal? Because they restarted the car and then sent him out, and he finished. I mean, he finished. Yeah. He finished last, but he finished. So I was kind of waiting for him to get disqualified. I'll be honest. But maybe they have a different set of rules in F2 regarding grid stalls. Or maybe they just took pity on him because it was the last race of the season and he was in a championship fight.
Probably the latter.
But anyway, Joshua Dirksen won his first feature race. He stood on the top step before, but it's only ever been sprints. So he took his maiden feature race victory. So Paraguay have now stood on the top step. There have been 18 different race winners in Formula 2 this season. Every single team has won a race.
Nice.
So Gabriel Bortoleto finished second, and Richard Verschoor, the most experienced driver in Formula 2, finished third. And on a slightly sadder note, Alex Jakes is no longer going to be the voice of Formula 2 commentary. He is moving on. I think it means he's getting the F1 TV gig full time. Because he does F1 TV commentary. So now that's what you hear on the YouTube videos instead of the Sky Sports commentary.
Yeah, well, he done F1 TV before, didn't he?
But I think he's just doing that now. But yeah, no, it's sad to see him go because I've come to associate his voice with Formula 2 in the same way I associate Alex Brundle with Formula 2. Yeah. So, yeah, it'll be sad, but hopefully it means he's on to bigger and better things. So it means, in the end, that the championship was indeed secured by Gabriel Bortoleto. He scored 214.5 points. Isaac Hadjar got 192 in the end. So, Paul Aron finished third on 163. That leaves us to the F1 Academy. Now, you remember last time out in Qatar, they had a race cancelled due to barrier repairs. Well, the powers that be decided, sod it. We'll have 3 races at the Yas Island circuit instead. Now, free practice was actually topped by Chloe Chambers. So, a bit of a shock result there, potentially, considering how the rest of the season's gone.
There's been a shock in practice.
And considering the next 5 names I'm about to read off, qualifying 1, qualifying 2, and qualifying 3 were won by Abby Pulling. Race 1 and Race 2 were won by Abby Pulling. The rest of the podiums were in Race 1, Hamna Al-Khabaisi and Dorian Pain, and in Race 2, Chloe Chambers and Hamna Al-Khabaisi. In Race 3, Maya Verg won the race, and as a fun fact, that is the first time a Ferrari-backed driver has stood on the top step in Abu Dhabi.
Wild.
Yeah. Abby Pulling came second, and Nerea Marti finished third. So, for your standings, that means that Abby Pulling wins the championship by a long way. She's on 338 points. Dorian Pain is on 217, and Maya Vague is on 177. So, we'll go over driver news of who's been retained, who's been signed, of all of the feeder series in a future episode in a couple of weeks, when we've got nothing else to talk about. Because they've already started announcing it.
I know what we could talk about.
Oh.
2009.
Oh my god.
This is going through season reviews from 2000 to now.
2009 is like your version of Chris's Singapore 2017.
So, is Canada 2011.
Yeah, true.
Hungary 2006.
That was his first race win, wasn't it?
Yep.
God.
Australia 2010.
There we go. Right. That about wraps it up for this week on the Turn 5 podcast. We'll be back next week for our season review as an overall.
Go race to race and forget what happened.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be joined by Chris that week because he's at work currently, and hopefully Nia's internet has been restored after being affected by the storm. Yeah. So, thank you for listening and or watching, and until next time, goodbye. Champion!